WWE has officially ruined Survivor Series, and if you watched the 2025 event, you probably felt it too. What was once one of the big four pay-per-views now feels like a show going through the motions, desperately clinging to relevance. Today, we're breaking down exactly why it's time for Triple H and the company to hit the reset button on Survivor Series before it completely loses its identity. From lackluster booking to gimmicks that don't make sense, WWE's approach has slowly turned a once proud event into just another date on the calendar. Coming into the show, there was a lot of concern among fans. Many of us had voiced skepticism about where WWE could take Survivor Series in the modern era. And if you were worried, the 2025 event confirmed every fear. The card had potential, sure, but the execution left much to be desired. It felt like WWE was giving us the bare minimum, a half-hearted effort to tick off a box instead of delivering something memorable. And honestly, this has been the trend for years now. Survivor Series has become a showcase of the company's inability to commit fully to a concept, instead recycling ideas and hoping they'll stick. It's hard not to notice how WWE has transformed its premium live events into, essentially, infomercials with wrestling sprinkled in. Ads are everywhere, the downtime between matches drags, and there's so much sponsorship around the ring that it almost overshadows the action. One fan summed it up perfectly on Twitter, saying that WWE's PPVs these days feel less like wrestling and more like extended commercial breaks. And they weren't wrong. As the show unfolded, this became painfully obvious. The pacing dragged, the storytelling took a back seat, and the sense of urgency that once defined Survivor Series was completely absent. Now, WWE has long compared itself to AEW, and in this case, the contrast was stark. Just a few weeks ago, AEW delivered Blood and Guts, a show that was chaotic, brutal, and almost uncomfortably violent. Every moment felt like it had a purpose, and fans were on the edge of their seats. Survivor Series tried to push the envelope with the men's WarGames match, and yes, there was some blood, a near injury involving Braun Breaker, and the mystery attacker angle that teased excitement. But even with these moments, the overall presentation felt watered down. WWE tried to give fans a taste of intensity, but it was just that, a taste, never a full course. The highs were there, but they were fleeting, swallowed up by the slow pacing and lack of investment in the undercard. Speaking of highlights, there were moments that almost saved the show. Randy Orton's return created a buzz, and the Mystery Man angle at the end sparked some real curiosity. Dominic Mysterio winning over John Cena with Liv Morgan's interference also delivered a memorable shock for fans. But when you strip all of that away, what remains? Cena versus Dom was fine, but forgettable. Vok versus Bell was flat. The women's WarGames match dragged, lacking the story intensity to justify the gimmick. And the men's WarGames, while technically impressive, boiled down to waiting for a few big spots. If you weren't invested in those moments, there was nothing to hold your attention. Survivor Series has always had these peaks, but now the valleys have grown too deep, too wide, and too frequent. This brings us to the bigger picture. Survivor Series has slowly become the weakest pillar of WWE's Big Five events. WrestleMania, the Royal Rumble, SummerSlam, and even Money in the Bank have clearer stakes and storylines that make fans care. Survivor Series, by contrast, often feels like an afterthought, a show that the company doesn't know how to book. And it shows. The traditional elimination matches that used to define the event have been replaced with brand supremacy angles, then WarGames gimmicks, and now it seems WWE is unsure of the show's very purpose. There's no long-term identity. There's no reason for fans to feel like missing it would be a tragedy. That's a problem. The identity crisis doesn't stop there. WWE has repeatedly tinkered with Survivor Series formats, trying to force excitement instead of letting it happen naturally. For years, it was traditional elimination matches, heroes versus villains, one side standing tall at the end. That formula was simple, clean, and engaging. Then WWE shifted to brand supremacy, pitting Raw against SmackDown in a battle of titles and rosters. At first, it had some intrigue, but the concept quickly grew stale because it wasn't rooted in any compelling storytelling. And now we have WarGames, a concept originally meant for high-stakes, blood-soaked rivalries. Yet WWE has watered it down to fit the calendar, not the story. Men's WarGames? Sure. Women's WarGames? Why? The narratives just aren't there. They force a gimmick match into a spot on the PPV without giving fans the payoff that makes the match feel necessary. And that brings us to the fundamental flaw in WWE's booking. Gimmick matches should happen because the story demands them, not because the calendar dictates them. Think about it. WarGames is brutal, unforgiving, and only works when the feud behind it is intense enough to justify such chaos. It's meant to be the culmination of hatred, grudges, and animosity. When done right, it's a showstopper. But when WWE forces it because it's November and we need something big for Survivor Series, the magic disappears. The Women's WarGames match in 2025 is a perfect example. The storylines simply weren't there, and the match felt like filler. You could see the effort in the choreography, but without the emotional weight, the spots lose their impact. WWE is trading storytelling for spectacle, and it's costing them engagement. We also need to talk about the pacing and storytelling choices that make the show feel like a half-hearted effort. With constant ad breaks and awkward downtime, matches that could feel intense and dramatic are interrupted, leaving viewers checking their phones rather than invested in the action. Even when moments of excitement happen, like Liv Morgan's shocking return or the masked attacker reveal, the momentum is lost almost immediately. And with so many matches failing to deliver meaningful stakes, the show becomes a blur of forgettable moments, temporary highs, and long stretches of nothing. Survivor Series is supposed to feel like a celebration of wrestling, a show where the storylines collide in big, unforgettable ways. Instead, it feels like a collection of half-baked ideas cobbled together for a date on the calendar. And here's the harsh truth. WWE doesn't seem to know how to fix it. Year after year, Survivor Series gets tweaked, repackaged, and rebranded, but nothing sticks. They abandon the traditional Survivor Series elimination matches, try brand supremacy, then WarGames, and maybe next year it'll be something else entirely. The problem isn't just the matches themselves. It's the event's identity. Without a clear, consistent purpose, Survivor Series will continue to underwhelm. Fans are noticing, engagement is dropping, and the excitement that used to define this PPV is all but gone. So what's the solution? WWE needs to hit the reset button. They need to stop forcing gimmick matches, stop treating the show as an afterthought, and think about what Survivor Series once represented. It was supposed to be a showcase of talent, storytelling, and stakes that couldn't be replicated elsewhere. Whether that means returning to the elimination match format, creating meaningful brand-wide storylines, or reimagining WarGames to fit compelling narratives, something has to change. Otherwise, Survivor Series risks becoming nothing more than a footnote on the annual PPV calendar. This reset needs to happen quickly, before the event becomes irrelevant entirely. WWE can't keep relying on random returns, masked attackers, and one-off shocks to carry a show. The framework has to be rebuilt from the ground up. Every match needs purpose, every storyline needs payoff, and every moment should feel like it matters. Otherwise, Survivor Series will continue to feel like the weakest link in the Big Five, a show that exists because it's on the schedule, not because anyone cares about it. Ultimately, Survivor Series in 2025 wasn't just disappointing, it was a reflection of a deeper problem within WWE. A show that was once a centerpiece of storytelling and suspense is now a placeholder. The heavy reliance on gimmick matches without meaningful storylines, the oversaturation of advertising, and the lack of creative consistency all point to the same conclusion. It's time to rethink, rebuild, and give Survivor Series the identity it deserves. Until WWE does that, fans will continue to watch with skepticism, hoping for sparks, but preparing for disappointment. So, if WWE wants Survivor Series to matter again, they have to stop treating it like a box to tick. They have to craft storylines that make the event feel essential. They have to make every match and every moment count. And maybe then, Survivor Series can reclaim some of the prestige and excitement it once held. Until that happens, it's just another show where potential is wasted and fans are left wondering what could have been. The time for a reset is now, and the question is whether WWE will listen before it's too late.